How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in Cap.
Nice.
This morning, I said I
Okay.
was going to do the live anyways, so I am at my workplace having the live.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, here I
Right?
am. I dressed for the occasion, as you can tell. Just
Yes, you did throwback.
it's a
One,
reminder.
one of my greatest achievements.
So just want to say we waiting for part two, you
Yes,
know. And as you can see, it's been what, 8 years?
no, but I live in a weird country.
Well, we'll have to adapt modern days and maybe make a virtual creator.
Yeah, I had that talk with Karel actually. So
Yeah.
we But guys, welcome, welcome. Oh, attends, Daniel, Kako, viens. Gat qui est-ce qu'il a?
I saw him. It's
Bah! Comment est chérie, là? Tout en forme?
pour mettre là, ça passe.
Bonne nouvelle petite fille, la forme?
Ah, non, for ma voix photo ba ou ben.
Ok, bon, if là, alright?
Il pas parler de ou ben. Il pas gâter pour le tourner.
Ok, m'attends.
All right, bet là. All right, take care.
All right, so I don't know if everybody here today on the live had seen the first part where I was having the conversation with my brother who has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And the first part was him basically talking about the experience of how he discovered he had type 2 diabetes and what were the, how can I say, like the emotional cycles and all the challenges to deal with at that first stage. So now for part two, we're going to speak about what came after the diagnosis and how he had to adapt and how he had to shift a lot of things in his life because diabetes is not a simple disease. And, so we're going to talk about that today. So, Daniel.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Bea, again for opening up this forum and giving me a platform to share. And for me, it's more about just sharing. It's hoping that at least one or two, even if it's just one or two people, get to hear the information and start sharing as well, right? What they've heard, maybe even for those who are diabetic, kind of an encouragement to share with other people, you
Yeah.
know? So what I would say, we talked about, like you said, everything. And then obviously at some point you have to stop and recognize and admit what's happening.
Yes.
And, and I'd say, there's two phases to that journey once you get to this point. The first one, at least that's my journey, right, is what I call the fallacy of thinking that we can no longer be diabetic. And, if you go out there and you search books, you'll find tons of books. Hey, let's reverse diabetes. We can get you off medication. We can help you not be diabetic anymore. Whereas the medical field tells you once diabetic, always diabetic, right? So I think the first journey that I went on was to obviously not be diabetic, right? I hate taking medications. I hate having to subscribe to anything. Personally, I like to live a free life. I only subscribe to making sure that my family is well. Outside of that, I just want to be living free and clear. And so I started to do tons of research. I bought so many books. And my wife bought, Karen, she bought so many books, and we all started to educate ourselves. And a lot of information that we shared, like information about the eyes, we got it through books, to our doctor conversations, went to see special dietitian. I would say I'm going to sum up first that journey and then walk you through it. One thing that we fail to recognize that if you follow the medical path to reversing diabetes, as they call it, it is not a true reversal because, like, for example, as a good Haitian man, you would never be able to eat white rice again. It's almost as if the reversal, getting your numbers to a normal, requires a lot of changes out of you. What you eat, right? The elimination of any form of sugars in your diet, right? And you have to help to figure out.
And fruits.
And fruits, exactly. You know, and that was one of my first mistakes. I'm thinking eating healthy, let me just eat. I went to the store, bought all the fruits I could buy. And what I did is created another spike. You know, so you have to be smart. I started to do the research. Is more of how could I say, the glycemic indexes, right? You know, a lot of people say, hey, yeah, look at the glycemic index. And then what you don't realize that there are actually two charts on the glycemic index. One is the index itself. The glycemic index tells you basically how much sugar is in your food, right? The type of food that you eat. And then there's what they call the LGI, the load glycemic index. And this is basically how quickly a specific element would dispense sugar in your bloodstream. So, you know, it's the lesson here was a very interesting one, is that you could be eating a fruit that's high in sugar, but because its load glycemic index is so low that it is still safe for you to eat it. So it is
of fruit that's like that.
I think mango was one of those, right? And I would have to have the chart in front of me. Mango is extremely sweet, but depending on the type of mango that you eat, right? Some of them have very low glycemic indexes.
Okay.
Blueberries, for example, they're very small. You know, they call it superfood. Based on volume, they are considered high in sugar, right? But because if you can't control also the volume that you eat, right? It's all about eating right. It's all about not overeating, right? It's not just, you know, to live well as a diabetic, you know, you have to eat well. And then so everybody thinks diabetes, oh yeah, sugar, 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 right? But we forget one other element, fat.
Yeah.
And I'm going to explain what some of my researchers have taught me about fat. A lot of people that are diabetic have what they call insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is primarily caused, and I use the word primarily with caution. It's primarily caused by the fat in your blood cells. So what's happening, your blood cells actually carry the sugar. And that is what your natural insulin should dissipate, which is why when you are on insulin, you inject yourself in the stomach area, right? That belly fat that most of us, and I'll give you a trick about that belly fat. If you want to know, not you, Beatrice, obviously, but anybody who wants to know about belly fat, you don't look at yourself in the mirror facing the mirror. You look at yourself from a profile perspective and follow that line as it gets to the bottom of your stomach. And if it's not a straight wall, you have fat.
Yeah.
Fat, and it is the dangerous fat from a diabetes perspective. So it is important for you to, you know, do that check. You know, go to the mirror, look at yourself sideways, and follow that line. So let's go back to fat in your blood cells. What that study did, it's a Dr. Barnard, Neil Barnard. I read one of his books, and for him, reversing diabetes means going plant-based 100%, right? But even they're being smart about going plant-based. The fat that's in your blood cells creates a wall that the insulin is not able to penetrate. Hence, the insulin is not able to consume that sugar that's in your bloodstream. That is why your diabetes tests are blood-based, right? They take a simple blood, whether you're doing an instant test to get your glucose level, or you do your your 3 months average, right? They are both based on blood. So on one end, you have sugar. Eliminating sugar is not good enough. On the other end, you have fat, and eliminating fat alone is not enough. Then comes the natural state of life to exercise, and I think we talked a little bit about that. Now, here was the shocker about exercise. You know, I'm thinking, hey, I got to become who I was 20 years, 30 years ago, maybe even, yeah, 30 years ago, right? Not to give too much of my age. But I can't. I mean, not can't, right? It's gonna be a journey. And but according to the medical science, all you really need is an hour and a half of exercise a week to maintain proper blood flow, maintain, obviously assuming that you're eating well, right? Everything is, there's no one solution. And these are principles that don't simply apply to diabetes. They apply to diabetes. They apply to just healthy living in general, right?
Yeah.
Eat well and a low impact exercise, even as low as walking. But a walk will elevate your heart rate,
Yeah.
right? Those combinations help. But in my journey, I took it to the next level, which was I look at being diabetic as being a challenge. And I remember making the comment not only to my doctor, my first doctor, my second doctor, because I let go of the first one, right? In my craziness, to my wife, to my kids, I was like, no, I'm coming off those medications. And they were light at the end of the tunnel, right? Especially after my third visit, I was removed from insulin, right? Never had to jump back, shoot myself. In fact, I haven't had a drip of insulin in at least 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, I would say 5 years, because diagnosed 2015, 2016, I was on insulin. Haven't had any insulin since probably mid 2016.
Wow.
You know, I've been on the usual suspect of medication, the metformin,
Uh-huh.
which most people find themselves on.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's interesting because that journey is almost an impossible mission because you're not of the right mindset. You know, you're thinking that you're gonna reverse diabetes the medical way, the nutritional way, the exercise way, and you're thinking that one day you have your traditional Haitian meal again with the griot and the fat sitting on the top of the meat, right? You're thinking you're gonna have the rice, you know, the white rice, the rice and peas, but lo and behold, uh, from a medical perspective, reversing diabetes simply means bringing the numbers down by whatever means necessary, right? And which is why the majority of the books that you will read will emphasize diet. They will emphasize exercise, right? And I'll tell you right now, in 2017, my number went to 5.9. You know, with 5.5, 5.6 being the normal.
Wow.
And, you know, I had made drastic changes, and I'll let you probe on that. And I thought, life is grand. You know, I first thing I thought, hey, never am I going to take a pill again. Looks like I've figured out how to restart my pancreas. But guess what? January, I go to the doctor and my number is upper 8 again.
Ouch.
Which means I changed my lifestyle, I changed my eating, I allowed the cheats. I didn't eat rice every day. I just allowed the cheats to come on. I exercised for quite some time, but then as I mentioned, I kind of stopped due to a special event in my life. Um, and the reality is, if you don't maintain, if you decide to follow the medical way, the medicinal way of reversing diabetes, you have to understand that it is a lifetime change. It is not a one-off change, right?
Mm.
It's one of those where, and I'm emphasizing a lot from a medical perspective, once diabetic, always diabetic, right? You will not have from your doctor a bill of health that says no longer diabetic. Instead, it
Mm.
will be diabetic, right? And it
Yeah,
would say that you have controlled diabetes.
exactly. So you control the disease so that your numbers don't go up and that
E-
you can live a decent life.
Exactly. E-
And but then I have a question for you, because this question, I'm guessing also that when someone is not in the situation, they
mhm.
don't know how they're going to react. They don't know, because they tell you, like the quote says so famously, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
When I remember the first time you told me that you went plant-based,
Hmm.
and I remember, like me, I'm always, I used to make fun of vegan people. Like, what do they poop? Do they poop leaf? That I was like, what the flip? It's like, because I am this vicious carnivore, and
Yeah.
I know you were a carnivore too.
I still am.
You
I'm a
still
control.
are. So how how easy or challenging was it for you to shift your diet into, cutting off flesh to go meh?
Well, I'll say this much, right? For me, it was not a journey alone, right? I had support from primarily, the instant support was obviously from Karen, my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and girls. The girls were still at home at the time, Tia and Mia. And
Mm-hmm.
they actually even volunteered to go plant-based as well, right? At least for a short period of time, right? It's their life. I appreciated the fact that they wanted to make the sacrifice, but one thing that my dad always told me, right, when I asked him in his dying moments of cancer, it's like, Dad, why didn't you ever come to Boston and allow me to try new medicine with you, right? That was weeks before we sent him home to Haiti to die. And he said to a
Mm-hmm.
parent's trials never be a child's trials and tribulations, right? And that always stayed with me, you know.
Yeah.
And and that stayed with me. And so I couldn't allow. I told the kids, yeah, you guys go, you guys do whatever you want. I appreciate the support, right? It's really helpful, but I don't expect you guys to follow me in that journey. And the same I told Karen too, and she followed
Yeah.
me for a long time. Right? Karen had been on this bandwagon for years, even before I was diagnosed. Like, we're eating too much meat. We need to eat organic. And I think I made the joke the last time. My first reaction was like, what do you mean eating organic? It's so expensive. I'm gonna have to eat less, right? So the transition comes for me came with family support, and I know you and Junior and Olivier and Mom, remotely, and even some of Karen's family like Michelle. sent me quite a bit of stuff. You know, everybody started to send what they knew about how to help with diabetes, right? So there
Yeah.
was a lot. And I think, like a good Caribbean person, initially, you make it about that person, these people around you, right? You
Mhm.
want to be able to show everybody that, hey, well, I'm hearing you. So the first commitment is not a real commitment to self, it's more commitment to people. But then you realize that quickly, you realize that, but I'm the one who's diabetic.
Yeah, and you have to do it for yourself.
You have to do it for yourself. So, you know, and you talk about plant-based, I'll tell you the more drastic thing that I did, and I still practice this, and I'm trying to put it on the cadence of maybe every quarter. I do water fasting for a minimum of 10,
Yeah. Oh my God.
right?
I thinking about the water fasting only. I'm like, ah, I-
Yeah. And water fast, most people use it to lose weight. Me, I use it to kind of like a reset, right? Initially, it was just like, can I reset my pancreas? Can I reset? And it's not just your pancreas, it's your liver and your kidneys. These are the three group of, this is the group of three organs that actually contribute to diabetes. And lo and behold, your liver also generates insulin. That that
Mhm.
that you know. So when you do, for example, water fasting, yes, at some point your quote unquote pooping system stops working by day 5, you know, but that wasn't really the concern for me. The main concern was, will I have energy? Can I still function? And I'll tell you
Yeah.
now, day 3 is, to put it very mildly, day 3 is a bitch. you know,
Because you're at that down moment
basically,
before the ups.
you've depleted all food, especially food for your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So on day 3, you have this massive headache. I mean, that was the first two experience. But by number 3, number 4, number 5, you go to day 3 with just a slight headache. But in the beginning, let me tell you this thing: if you ever try it, day 3 and 4, you don't leave your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? But here is some of the benefits. Because your body is forced to
Adapt.
basically adapt, and your body is forced to expel all the toxins and everything, right? Your sweat no longer smells.
Yeah, of course. Because so it cleans out all the toxins as you
And,
go.
drinking all that water, you go to the bathroom just about every hour, throughout the day
Yeah.
and throughout you. The biggest challenge with water fasting is the boredom, right? You
I'm
realize
crazy.
it's
I mean, I'm
boring,
thinking about it already. I have a headache.
but try. I'll challenge you to it. Since you
Listen,
challenge me to
I
palate,
I did I did nutrition plans where I was depleted of carbs. I thought I was gonna go crazy.
yeah, and
Like
your
by by the
go.
third day with carbs, I want to kill someone, right? So I'm imagining just water. I would have to be like locked up in a bedroom
Yeah,
alone,
no,
like to survive this thing. Cause
but
wow,
you know, one of the, I don't know if I ever told you this, how the medical science started to really pay attention to water fasting. Water fasting has been in practice in Asia for quite some time, especially in places like India.
yeah, and how do you call these people? The monks.
Yeah,
When they go into their meditation phase and they fast for like months, it's just water that they put in their system, and it's water and meditation. That's their life for that.
exactly, exactly. You know, so when you think about that, you know, you start asking yourself, what am I really eating? So, for example, I'm going to ask you if you were to ask the average in person, I'm going to ask you, you as Miss Carnivore extraordinaire, right? Uh, if you want quick instant protein, where would you go? What would you eat?
Instantly.
Yeah, you
Uh,
want good protein, and you what would you eat? Don't go with byproducts, natural products, whether it's meat, it's beans, or whatever.
I would say because of my fitness thing, and my quick knowledge, I would go for eggs, egg whites
Okay, egg whites.
as a
That's
as a first choice, and then I would think about chicken breast
yeah.
as clean protein, and maybe the protein powder, right?
Okay.
Those
So
would be my three if you want cleanest protein. And actually, I must say, when I went there like eating like that, I started eating less red meat also because I couldn't eat that much as I used to before because I was eating more fish, chicken, and eggs,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So think of it this way, right? The chicken is
Mm-hmm.
much in you, but somehow that chicken gives you enough protein, even to its egg.
Mm-hmm.
But the chicken does not have an animal diet.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
for example, most people would say red meat, right, for protein.
Yeah. And cow is not a carnivore.
Exactly. So what that means is if you eat smart, right, per medical science, which says, for example, you should not eat a lot of red meat because, in fact, I'll give you another factoid real quick in a second. If the cow can find enough protein to generate not only for itself, but for its calf, and for human being to eat protein in excess, and all that cow does is grass, and that cow is not even
Yeah.
active,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
So
don't get me wrong. I know, I mean, based on my researches and all these things. And, I even met when I went to the bodybuilding shows, I met actual bodybuilders that are vegan,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I know of great protein sources from, vegan stuff. It's just, I don't know if I can do it.
I'm
um,
gonna today because you can do it,
well,
right?
I'm sure if I set my mind to it, it's like I love flesh so much.
Yeah.
I guess it's a question of taste. I don't know. Or habit. I must say also I've never really tried to go vegan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can eat a lot of veggies, a lot of veggies, but not it always has to be with some sort of flesh next to it, either fish or chicken or meat. I haven't gone full blown veggies only yet, or those carbs. And my concern also with that is, of course, overloading on carbs because I
Mhm.
love, and if I don't find that protein to eat, I might kick the leaf and just go to the carbs. And that would not be good.
You're absolutely correct, right? It's about making life choices, but it's about making smart life choices, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding that as we age, at least for the average individual, our capacity to digest and process everything that we consume naturally diminishes, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was at my peak of swimming, I used to eat, like you said rightfully last time, a quart of condensed milk, and that was okay, right? Because well, by the time I jump in the pool, then the weight, then back in the pool, I had burned all the stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I could manage that, but today I can't because if I do that, I'll probably be in a diabetic coma in about an hour, right?
Yeah. For eating wrong stuff also. Because I remember I had seen a documentary with Michael Phelps talking about his nutrition.
Yeah.
And, you know, burning so many calories at practice, that he was basically eating 3,500 to 4,000 calories per day.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I was like, how can somebody eat that much? You know, it's like when I'm on my nutrition plan, and it's like, you know, when we're doing a bulk or a clean bulk, and I have to eat like 2,250 calories, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to eat that healthy, because you can easily eat that if you sit down and eat pizza all day, right?
Of
But
course.
when you have to eat properly, meaning the right proteins, you know, the your veggies, well, me not being a vegan, my meat, my chicken, my eggs, and all these things, it's hella difficult. Like in the morning, I would have to eat 6 to 8 egg whites. It's not easy.
Absolutely not.
So,
So
but then again, Michael Phelps jumps in the pool and burns that many calories also in just one practice.
that's right. That's right. So it's about being smart about your choices. It's about understanding that life goes on. You know, the average individual, your life goes like this, right?
Yeah.
And start declining, and you have, and which is why what doctors, I think the most important advice that my doctors ever gave me, first and second, is whatever changes that you make in your life, make them for the rest of your life.
Yes. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle,
It's a
right?
life.
It's another way of, it's a good way of eating.
That's right. You know, you have medically damaged an organ, right? That's what
Yeah.
they say. And the medical science till this day doesn't know how to trigger the pancreas to start working properly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, make smart choices, make them for life. Even when it comes to exercising, that's what they'll tell you. Don't try to become a bodybuilder. Don't try to become the next Michael Phelps, as we were discussing. Instead, become a new you, right?
Yeah.
And
Get active to get better.
we touched on that last time, right? Love
Yeah.
yourself enough to create a new you.
Yeah.
And I got to say that is, in my opinion, the final phase of the journey. But it is definitely a threshold that you have to pass, right? We
Mm-hmm.
talked about the disbelief at diagnosis. We
Yeah.
talked about the pursuit of a fallacy, right? Yeah, I'm never gonna be diabetic, at least not medically speaking. I'm just gonna figure it out. I'll be out of medication. You start seeing light at the end of the tunnel because all of a sudden you're no longer on insulin, right? But you have to be true to yourself. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be honest. You got to love yourself in order to love those around you, so that the change you make for yourself becomes the change you make for the next person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love yourself enough. And I think today I have learned a lot about loving myself, because I did go on a self-destructing path many times. And even after I've gone past the first sticker shock of being diabetic, I've done stupid stuff. But you know what? I love myself enough today to share this message today with whoever wants to hear it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
love myself enough today to say that I am going to hit someone, one, maybe two, maybe three, to my own experience. So
Mm-hmm.
when you see the signs on their end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, even today in America, we have a diabetes problem with teenagers and even adolescents. As young as 6 years old now, kids are pre-diabetic.
Well, when you look at the way, I mean, I was talking about that when I had the live with the owner of NutriBio. You know, when you go to the supermarket, 90% of the supermarket is rubbish.
Of course.
It's it's full of sugar, full of sodium, food full of fat, full of any nasty things to make it have a nice taste, for it to be addictive. And, a lot of parents, they don't realize, they don't have time to cook. So they give the kid whatever, the quick lunch, the quick bag of chips, the quick candy, the quick thing. Or some parents even, give candy to make the kid shut up.
Yeah.
And then after that, they pay the consequences because the kid ends up diabetic or, with any kind of stupid disease.
Yeah. So you're touching on something that's very profound here, right? Like my kids, they eat their share of Happy Meals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I even played with the Happy Meal toys, right, from McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, it's our lifestyle did not give us enough time to always meal prep, cook for the kids, a healthy meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, like Monday to Friday were crazy days. And then, yeah, on Saturday we sat at dinner table. And I think there's a lot to learn about the Caribbean way of life as well, right? And I
Yeah.
mean old school Caribbean way of life, where you had a dinner, where your grandmother, for example, raised her chicken, right?
Yeah.
She didn't buy meat that sat in the freezer somewhere for 3 months. She slaughtered a fresh goat,
Yeah.
right? And she hand selected her produce. And when you think about it, granted, Haitian parents would overfeed you, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, right.
Of nutrition.
Um, our way,
You know,
our way of eating, like when we were kids. First of all, up to a certain age, you didn't put food on your plate. Your parents did for you. And then you had to eat everything in the plate.
yeah,
You would not leave the table until the plate was like clean.
yeah, yeah.
That was
But
hell of a bad.
but think about the meal they serve you, right? You have your share of vegetable, your share of protein, your share of
Yeah.
carbs. It was at best a balanced meal, and it was good because
But there was a good side of it, but there was also a bad side of it.
exactly.
They would load
So
you up with like big pile of rice. Jesus.
so what you touch on is, yes, is just that, right? If you go now, when I go to the supermarket, when I do go, the aisle that I primarily visit doesn't have anything either in a plastic bag or in a can,
Or yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and part of what we're doing here in our household is also looking at the how could I say the preservatives, right? So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, we still buy ham, which is processed meat, right? But and I don't eat that much ham myself, but I do have it occasionally. But we make sure that it has
Mm-hmm.
no nitrates.
Yeah.
So that pound of ham probably costs me 2.5 times more than the one that's full of nitrate. But this ham that we buy is very different,
Yeah.
So you have to make smart choices, but it all comes from within. The changes will
Yeah.
come from not from anybody else, to be honest. You
No, of
know,
course.
and and I want to say, right, this podcast actually, the first one that we had, already taught me a lot. I had a few folks reach out to me, a friend that I haven't spoken to in over 30 years, right? And shared with me not his journey as a diabetic, but his journey as realigning life, mind, spirit, and soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you think about it, I think a lot of us, when we don't understand certain things, we can make fun of it. But, I took his message as, Danielle, think about uh, what do we really do when we're happy? It's just that we have that alignment, that spiritual alignment internally,
Yep.
right? And that is, it's interesting because I think I mentioned the last time that I am yet on another journey And talking to this friend kind of make me stop and rethink that next journey, right? It is not to say that I will apply everything he said, right? That is his experience, and I respect his experience. But it does create pause and say, we talked about exercise, we talked about nutrition, we touched on self-love, and maybe this is the aspect that I need to reinforce more, the third item in the journey, which will bring, spiritual readiness, spiritual alignment, and spiritual peace as I do, right? Not to say that I'm not going to become a monk. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I
But,
laugh. The day
yeah,
I'd be like, okay.
I think of Tibet. Like, no. But I'm not a monk, but I think this is definitely something that I'm gonna put in that journey, right? Percent. If you find me on a bad week, it's probably 0%.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the exercise, and I'm at 0% today, but that's about to change because I got to prepare, especially for your challenge. And then now, what I need to integrate is that spiritual health,
Yeah.
right? And I think by mastering the three, I will find the model that will carry me to the rest of life, right? I will, and that
Of
is
course,
the journey
you
now.
will have an alignment.
Repeat that again, Bea. You kind of
You
broke
will
up
find,
for us.
you will find balance and alignment.
Yeah, exactly. And I always make the comments. I wanna be the model grandfather, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a great job with my kids. Although I gave Karen 80% of the recognition for the work with the kids, but I want to be the grandparent that's involved. I want to be the grandparent that the kids don't go visit and don't want to visit because he stinks in a wheelchair. I'm sorry, but I want to be the one that actually drops by unexpectedly and takes his kids, say, to Disney World, Disneyland, an impromptu trip, right?
Yeah.
That's so, and I think that's the other element that people should think about when you think about your journey through life is to have goals for life as well and not professional goals. Most people, their goals are professional. I want to make $1 million. I want to buy another car. No. Think about your spiritual growth and your spiritual goals. Set them and work towards them, right?
Yeah.
That's the essence of life, in my opinion. And if that means for me that forever I will be on metformin or
What?
the next, so what?
But earlier about, the material goals, right? When you think about somebody
Hmm?
that has a goal to have 1 million or 10 million, it does also come, even if that's the goal, but it also comes with a certain mindset. And that certain mindset requires a degree of alignment spiritually to be
Yeah.
able to set yourself to get there.
Hmm.
Because you don't get to the million just any way, unless you go through bad things and then you end up in jail. That's the easiest. But it's like whatever genuine clean goals that you have, there's still that spiritual alignment that has to be in tuned with that. Otherwise there's something missing.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, you achieve the goal with ill ways, right?
Ex- exactly.
So that's where I am, right? I think in the first episode, what I wanted to stress to people was take care of yourself, visit your doctor, don't underestimate the signs. My thing is, if be honest with yourself, if you are eating bad and you're not exercising and you're not living a clean life, expect to have issues. And maybe diabetes might be the least that happens to you, right? I,
Mm-hmm.
I always say, one of my biggest worries in life is to, for example, have either a heart attack or a stroke and be brought back to life, and but not having full mobility and full function of myself. I'd
Yeah.
rather, to be honest, and be over with this nonsense than to have to go to the rest of life, because guess what? Your family love you so much, they will keep you alive. They'll make sure everything that needs to be done will be done, and you will spend an eternity miserable. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just my opinion, right? We were not born to live in a wheelchair. We were not born to, I abused my body by any shape, forms you can think of. I'm paying the consequences of it today, and it's okay because guess what? I have graduated from this, and I will have, uh, barring any accidents, barring the earth, I'm in California, the earth could split any second and swallow me with the next earthquake, right? But barring anything out of my control, I intend to have a good life. I intend to
Yeah.
go old. I'm all gray. You didn't know me gray. I'm all gray now, but it's okay because I embrace my grays, and it's just a testament of a good life.
Yeah. Of course. Of
You
course.
know?
Of course.
And I want to say, for example, since the last uh, uh, Instagram live that we did,
Life.
there are people that called me and shared tips and tricks. In fact, a cousin called me and even said, "You know what? I'm gonna teach you how to open plastic bags." We talk about that. You know, Simple stuff, but you know what? I welcome it because yeah, I want to open the plastic bag because I like to be the first one in the produce aisle and the first one out, not the last one out. Because I don't want to be the one that seems like he's robbing the produce aisle because everything is at the bottom of the cart, and I get to the cash register as I'm about to fly off with the cart, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm making fun of it, but this is what this has brought to me. But more importantly, we wonder sometimes when we have illnesses, is there life after all this stuff? And I say yes. And I just had one of the best times in my life, between those two sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just 2 weekends ago, I was on the racetrack with my oldest daughter. We did about 5 or 6 hours on the track, racing cars, learning tips and tricks. And you know what? I performed at the level that I naturally perform. I was very cautious because it's my baby girl in the car, right? And you're always afraid something will happen. But I told her, trust the car. That was I think the last thing I told her. Just trust the cars, right? You best cars in the world. But we had a grand time. But even though we talked about my eyesight problems, right? And my glasses are just to see close, to read. Um, and even though I have all this stuff, I still, we have what they call the time competition. I still
Mm-hmm.
finished second out of
Yeah.
almost 40
Brother,
participants.
that's amazing.
So the message here for me is that, you know what? Yes, take care of yourself and you still get to enjoy life. You still get to live life.
And the message is also that it is up to you at the end of the day.
That's
It
right.
is up to you, right? Happiness, it cannot come from any other sources than your inner self.
Yeah.
So you can decide, okay, I have diabetes, I'm just gonna be a lonely, sad guy, or guess what? I'm going to adapt and, make the best out of my life.
That's right.
It's a choice.
That's right. And you can live a normal life like the next person that's not diabetic,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but always go back to what I am gonna point as the triangle of life: the spiritual, the nutritional, and the sport,
Yeah.
right?
And you see me, like for example, you will see that in my captions when I talk about fitness. You know how they say that, the goals like getting fit is 80% nutrition and 20% fitness.
Yep,
And I always say that I have another equation. For me, it is 80% mindset. And then the rest of that 20%, 80% of it is nutrition, and the 20% of that 20% is fitness. That's my formula.
yep,
Because, like I always say, you can have the best diets. They give you a 12 weeks program. You have the best trainer. You have the best gym. You have the best equipments. If this is not aligned, you're not going to get anywhere.
absolutely. Absolutely. I always say if you jump out of a plane without a parachute, you will get hurt.
Exactly.
Right? So that's the essence of life, right? Know yourself. Be Don't let the next person be critical of you. Be critical of your own self, right?
Mm-hmm.
I work toe to toe with my wife, and I was hoping she would have made an appearance today, but she's unfortunately stuck with work. Uh, you know, uh, for her, like I said, I work toe to toe with her, and I always say before somebody criticize me, trust me, me and all my wife, we've already criticized me.
Yeah.
There's no surprises coming from the outside. Oh, Daniel, whatever you did, that was foul. Trust me, I've already heard it from my wife. I already heard it from me, and I've already made peace with it, and I'm ready
Yeah.
to move forward. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's the attitude that helps me to my journey here in that as a diabetic, right? That's
Yeah.
the that allows me to even deviate from the plan from time to time, then knowing when to jump back on the plan. You see what I mean? So I'm loving this journey, and I think there's a reason why I have been placed on this journey. In my life, I love to coach people. There's a bunch of young kids, friends of my kids that I coach, mentor, right, to college and even early professional lives. And I think I want to bring this message today, and I hope it's received at least by two, right? And I hope that these two that receive this message carry it to two each,
Yeah.
right? Let this let this be heard. Diabetes is ugly. But diabetes is a death sentence if not taken seriously. Uh, but there is life after diabetes, and I am here, I am well, I feel good, I'm spiritually at peace, and I have a plan for my next journey. And, I invite everyone and anyone to just, I'm going to say this much. I know this is a no filter chat. If you have kids and they don't exercise and they eat bad and you don't do nothing about it, blame
They're
yourself
doomed.
for what's about to come.
Yeah. Totally agree with that.
Even
Totally.
with yourself, if you don't do what's right, don't blame
It's
it.
like thing. People tend to shut up on stuff that are hard to hear, and that narrative needs to flip. You need to say it the way it is, because otherwise, it gets like, yeah, okay, but when the disease hit, it's no longer, oh yeah, okay, it's, oh shit, what am I gonna do now?
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Right?
You know, I've gone to, you know, and I know we have to be careful the words that we use, and I think society is doing us a disservice. I've been a fat fuck, okay,
Yeah.
and I can stay there and admit it. I have been a fat fuck, and I worked through it. And you know what's the worst part? While I was in that state, I didn't even recognize it. It wasn't until I made some changes that I realized and look at pictures. And I remember it was Taya, my oldest, look at the picture, said, Dad, mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so be honest with life, love yourself. That's my message to everyone, you know. And if you end up with diabetes, know that, okay, maybe you failed yourself at some stage. Maybe your parents failed you at some stage. But you know what? Don't stop right there. You know, pick up yourself and do what you got to do, because what happens from there, it's up to you. It's like a mentor of mine always told me, it's not whether you're going to fall, it's not whether you're going to fail. It's what you do once you have fallen or once you have failed.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is the message.
Oh, whether you like it or not, you are gonna fall, you're gonna hit yourself, you're gonna be in pain, you're gonna get hurt. It's what you do after
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
moment.
That's right. And that's why they mean then when they really say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, you know? And I'll leave you with that. I'll share a last quote with you that this friend of mine shared. The forces that make the body heal the body.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, listen, love you much. I had a grand time sharing my story, you know.
We still have a third part.
We still have a third one. We'll talk about it, you know, and we'll figure out exactly the message. I know the message, you know. You could make it a 50 part that I'd have stuff to say, you know. But hey, listen, it's Thursday. It's a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, even if it's raining or thundering, right? Love life, love yourself, you
For
know.
the third part of, the happiness journey, right? Part
Yeah.
of their happiness is you, you know, taking your only sister to F1 in Vegas in November 2023.
Is that part of our
It's
happiness?
gonna make you so happy to give your sister this one gift.
Just
You're not. Did
just get your butt to California and then we'll get to Vegas. I promise.
I?
Get your
All
butt to
right.
California and I'll get you to F1.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 Peloton bikes. So that'll be after I kick your ass.
Yeah. I like you. Right. Okay. So we have like 1 minute past the hour. We have to leave. It was great talking to you again.
Likewise.
Gonna
Thank you.
have a third part 3 weeks to have the final chapter of my brother's journey with diabetes. So take care. Everybody have a good day. Be happy. Spread love. Bye.
Bye. Thank you again.
Thanks.